Way down among Brazilians, coffee beans grow by the billions, so they've got to find those extra cups to fill. They've got an awful lot of coffee in Brazil.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crackers College Hoops Monday morning cup of coffee. I'm Steve Ivy, joined as always by my good buddy, main man Marty Lenz. Marty, how are you this morning?
I am good. Big win Saturday. USA wins hockey. It's Monday. It's beautiful. And just getting a little closer to daylight saving time. So it's all good. All good.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. The sun came up. It gets light in the bedroom at 6:30, not at 7.
Yeah.
And I love that. I get up when the sun comes up. So I'm ready to go. And I really look forward to our Monday mornings. If you're new here, I know we get mostly regulars, but if you're new here, just realize this is we focus on we start Monday morning off with a cup of coffee and do a show talking about CSU hoops. Usually we have a guest. We don't have a guest today. We're gonna redo a show with just Marty and me. 3 weeks ago, we were down in the dumps. We were coming off a loss against Wyoming and 3-8 in the Mountain West Conference with a team that looked so promising. And we did a show. The title of it was Control Alt Reset, Control Alt Delete, to do a full reset. And we had some fun with that show. We talked about changes that we thought needed to be made because we had so much belief in this team. And not that I think the coaches listened to us, Marty, but yeah. Maybe they did. We saw some changes, and we've seen a lot of changes, and it's been nothing but positive, and it's been fun watching it unfold over these last 5 games, right?
Right. Well, you know, like you and I have talked before, I mean, the season in many ways probably tells a story. You had the beginning of the season where the Rams looked really good. There's just great continuity, chemistry. We talk about chemistry, biology all the time. And then it didn't help that we had injuries, but everybody deals that. But we had a bit of a lull in the middle of the story. Now we're coming towards, you know, the buildup, the you know, I don't want to probably quite say the crescendo, but we're coming to the height of the story, and we're looking like the Rams did in November and December, getting everybody healthy. You can't wait to get Pasquarelli back. That's the last key component. But the other guys have really stepped up and played awesome basketball. And I think you'd agree, each of these challenges have been a little harder. Wyoming, but then you had, you know, we had San Jose State in there, but then you have UNLV on the road, and they're always a tough out, though it sounds like we've owned them the last 5 or 6 games. And then you bring in, look, with all due respect to Utah State, for the last 15, 20 years, the road through the Mountain West goes through San Diego State. I don't care where they are, who they are, what they have. That, to me, is the high bar. They come to town, we take care of business, and we beat them. And I think the other funny stat, if you will, if you believe in this stuff, what are we, like 15-1 when we wear the pumpkin and alfalfa? You know, we're 5-1 against San Diego State in those uniforms. So it's like whatever trends I like, but man, that was a great game. You know, and I have the utmost respect for Brian Dutcher and San Diego State, and we played. That was probably our best basketball game that, you know, the best game I've seen us play this year was that game. I think it was a fantastic game. We looked very good, very good.
I agree. We have a comment here from Taylor. Do you see an undefeated February in our future? We're going to get into that, Taylor. We'll talk about it. We want to talk about kind of where things have got a comment. Aaron's out there too, watching from Fort Collins, probably happy to see we're playing well at the right time of the year. And that's ultimately what it's about. And so, you know, it's kind of deja vu all over again. The old Yogi Berra expression, the man of many words, that made a lot of sense and made complete nonsense as well. But if we go back last year, we remember things started falling into place. And I would argue it was right before things fell into place. It was a home game, and it was an orange out. It was against San Diego State last year. And San Diego State was playing well, and we were showing signs. and it was probably the best game that both teams. San Diego State came in playing well, and they played a very good game. We played a very good game, and it was back and forth. CSU was never ahead by more than 8. San Diego State was never ahead by more than 4, and it was always close margins the whole way until the Rams kind of broke it open and then held on for a 5-point win. But that's when we started seeing the team play both ends of the floor, play 94 feet. And during this build-up, this 5-game streak, we had some good signs, and we had some. I don't think we were playing all 94 feet well at the beginning of the streak. We would either be good defensively or good offensively, but it really came together on Saturday in a game where I thought it was easily, as you said, it was our best effort. I thought by far for the year.
Well, and that's. I mean, I'll say this. Like I said, we played really good defensively. There were times, and this is where, again, you got to give credit to San Diego State. They were D'd up solid, and they have players, and their players made plays. And there's a couple times I'm with my wife, and I was like, man, that's great defense. You just got to give it to San Diego State on that play. They made a great shot, made a great move to make themselves open, or made a play. The shots that San Diego State made in that game, they earned them because our defense was pretty much all over them. There were a couple moments, I think it was in the second half, where, man, we had wide open shots, but we didn't have anybody rebounding on the offensive side of things, which was driving me nuts. I was like, dang it, man, and then they started to get that going too, and started to get some bounces and rebounds with that, some opportunities. But to your point, yeah, I think the biggest change is, well, we're shooting better because in that lull, we weren't shooting good, but defensively, we have really, really picked it up. And you can see that our bigs are defending. God, our guards are defending. I mean, it's something. It's a beauty to see. And you've got to have, better than anybody, you got to have that as we get closer to tournament time and the end of the year. A lot of that great defense, and it's great to see it against an elite program, a great program like San Diego State. And it was nice to see. That was a very good, solid win. You felt good to be a Ram on Saturday. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we opened talking about the show we did 3 weeks ago, talking about doing a complete reset, and we talked about a lot of the changes. I want to get into some of the stuff we talked about. Number one, we were very concerned about the pace. The team was playing pretty much in mud, very, very slow, and we thought that might be driven by the fact that the coaching staff had decided that with the return to health of both Kyle Jorgensen and Rashawn Mbemba, we thought it was pairing them together and then having Kiadulis and Booth coming off the bench, and we thought it would be good maybe to get Carey Booth back to starting. We thought, and playing Jorgensen and Mbemba as a tandem, not so much together on the floor, but playing and subbing for each other. We also talked about some lineup changes at the guard position. We were excited to see more and more of Jace Butler, and I know we talked at the time of maybe Rechsteiner or Pasquarelli coming off the bench. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting was Ali made the change with the bigs, and he did start playing. He recognized that maybe we couldn't play the two, Rashawn and Kyle together, made that change, put Carey back in the starting lineup, but then he moved Jevin Muniz to the bench as opposed to Rechsteiner or Pasquarelli, just because he wanted more balance. And we started seeing the fruits of that emerging as soon as he made that change. And it wasn't that Jev was getting a lot fewer minutes. It's just more that we started to see more consistency with the second team, because you had a senior who had been through it all, who can pass the ball, rebound the ball, shoot the ball, and really a good leader. And all of a sudden things started falling into place. And that the beginning of the 5-game streak was the win over San Jose State, followed by Air Force, Wyoming, UNLV, and Wyoming. We're going to get into the San Diego State game a lot more detail, but we started seeing signs with those changes, and it's gradually been building. over these 5 games.
Well, one thing I took away, it was the press conference after the Wyoming game, when I think it was Wyoming or UNLV, I forget now, but Coach said, he says, look, I essentially have 8 starters. I have 8 starters, in the sense that they're all getting fairly similar minutes here and there. And my takeaway was, that's awesome. It's kind of an embarrassment of riches, but this is where, and I know these are young guys, they're not pros necessarily in the same vein as what we see in the NBA, but that's also something you're seeing here. That's a maturation and a credit to the young guys who's saying, hey man, you're going to get your time. You are going to be playing invaluable, but I'm not going to start you this time because I'm still trying to sort things out. And you know what? Everybody on that team, my sense is, has very much accepted that role. Kerry Booth, when he came off the bench, accepted that role. Christ, now he's starting again, and he's a beast. And I know we'll set that aside because we're going to talk about that. But all these guys are very much accepting of their roles. And I almost see them playing with a lot of comfort, a lot of freedom with that, with those rotation. I see guys that are accepting and happy and fulfilling those roles. And that makes me happy to see that there's a buy-in. For lack of a better term, everybody's kind of bought in now. And I'm not saying they didn't before, but I think now they were like, oh man, we're buying in. It's working. We've got this, pretty cool rotation of group of guys that we can bring in at any time for situations and the like. And I mean, this is something, it is really something to see how they've gelled each and every game and getting used to how they play and those rotations. And we have to remind ourselves too, Steve, Coach Farokhmash is a first-year head coach. So, I mean, there's a lot of learning on the fly, even though he has great staff of assistants who we talked to and we've recognized before that have a lot of depth in coaching. He's still learning, about himself to some degree, things in comfort level and stuff. So, I mean, there's been a lot of transition that we've had with this program in a year. And if you would have told me, I'm sure we told you, and it said, hey, looking a year ahead, if I told you we're coming off a big win at San Diego State, we're 500 in conference, considering, maybe we could be a little better and some stuff, but we're 17-10. I'd have said, oh yeah, with a new coach and, new players and all this stuff, I'll take it. I'll take it. And so, I mean, in many ways, I'm pleasantly surprised about the evolution of the team, even with the lull in the middle, of how far they've come and what they're putting together on the court right now.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about Ali and growing pains as a first-year coach, but we're seeing signs out of him. I thought his game management on Saturday against San Diego State was absolutely spot on. And
he was working that one ref too. He was in that one ref's ear. Coach was not having it. There were a couple calls you're like, and man, I like that Coach Ali was there on the court in his ear, kind of telling him. I was like, yeah, work him a little bit. Tell him what you're seeing and you don't like it. I love that. Yeah. He's advocating and doing that.
It's funny. I told people before the game, I think we're going to, the over-under, I think we might see Ali's first technical foul today because the lead ref was Tommy Nunez. Tommy struggles sometimes. And when you have San Diego State, they usually get a lot of calls, whether it's at home or on the road.
They do.
I think I don't comment on the officiating much. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't uneven. CSU got some calls.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
But
there were a couple times and that's the thing. I mean, it's not like they weren't letting him play, but you're like, whoa, you're calling that, there was a couple charges and a couple bumps here and there. I will say this, I'm not an expert by any stretch, but boy, teams like San Diego State and Utah State, they take advantage of, they're not doing just a Euro step. They're doing the Euro plus Russia step. I mean, they get away with a lot of, and they called that in this game. There's a lot of traveling. It's like, oh my God, you got to call them on that. There's a lot of stepping and walking, which I feel, is getting a little more acknowledged with that too. But yeah, setting that aside. Yeah. But you know why San Diego State gets the benefit of that? Because they've been so good for so long. They earn that reputation. So that going in. And so what I liked Coach Farokhmash advocating for his guys saying, hey man, call it both ways, or, hey, I know they're San Diego State, but, you can't have our guys getting bowled over too for charges and everything else. So,
yeah. I mentioned on my post-game show Saturday night, one of the things Ali did, and he's really, like I said, he's getting better and better in his game management. We made a shot, we made a 3 at the end of the first half to launch to a 15-point lead, and San Diego State had the ball with 24 seconds to go and called a timeout. And Ali, from a coaching perspective, defensively managed those final 24 seconds. We had 2 fouls to give. He substituted JoJo. No, he left Recksteiner. He put Recksteiner in to take a foul, and then he put JoJo McIver in to take a foul. Neither of them had a foul at the time. We had 2 fouls to burn, and we got the clock down to 12 seconds, and then he went into his 1-3-1 zone, forced San Diego State into just a god-awful shot at the end of a possession. They got the offensive rebound and the putback. That was unfortunate, but everything that Ali did down in that sequence was, those are the kind of things, and those are the small margins that can win close games. And we started seeing that, and he's like you said, he's emerging as well. He's learning his players. He's learning rotations. He's learning who to play, and we've seen the game management improve. He did the same thing at UNLV the game before. So let's get into that. Let's get into the San Diego State game in a little more detail. Obviously the orange out, and we never lose in orange. Of course, there's always the fear when you play a good team like San Diego State. But I felt awfully good going in. I had gone to practice the day before. I saw the stuff they worked on. I saw some of the guys screwing it up, but it didn't matter. They were going to be ready to play, and they came out from the opening whistle playing hard and fast.
It's tough. Well, first off, when you play San Diego State, you know that you might get out coached potentially, and that's no neck against Coach Veroknemesh because he had called a great game. But Brian Dutcher's, he's the guy, and he's a great coach, and he's a strategist, and he sees everything and is aware of everything. And again, San Diego State brings in some real dudes, as we like to say, great athletes, big guys that really stretch the floor. And so it's going to be a battle. So you have to bring your best strategy with you, but the players got to know, hey man, this is, if we want to be taken seriously, this is the team we always have to punch up and beat. What I liked about Colorado State, what I like about them is sometimes some teams you think the moment's too big for them. And this wasn't. I will say this going back because I want to focus on the game. But that Utah State game, when we had that lead, I think the moment got a little too big for us, and we let that game slip away. In this instance, and this game was closer, we didn't let the moment get too big for us. Every time that they started to punch back a little bit, we got going, made a stop, or ended up getting a key bucket. I like to say no empty possessions. A couple times we were burning a lot of clock. We'd get a nice bucket and still keep that cushion of a lead. This was a time where the moment didn't get too big for the guys, whereas earlier in the year against a quality opponent, I think maybe potentially it did. So that was great to see. You mentioned that 1-3-1. Man, I've never seen a defense that confounds a team like this CSU 1-3-1. I've seen it in other games too, and I love it. But it is amazing to me that some teams, because they have coaches and scouts too, they can't seem to figure out. But whenever CSU implements that, they really did frustrate San Diego State a couple of times with that. And it's not like they don't have guys that can't shoot on the perimeter, but for whatever reason, schematically in their head with their rotations, they can't. I love when we shift that 1-3-1 because we've got the big stretch guys with the long arms, fast guards, and then underneath. I think that is a hell of a strategy. You may not want to do it all game, but boy, when you implement it in certain times, you can really throw off teams and good teams too. And that's not the first time I've seen that with that defense. They put that in saying, oh man, they're frustrating the hell out of whoever we're playing offensively. They can't figure it out.
Yeah. Getting to the kind of the start of the game, CSU fell behind, and I sit with people and they're going, oh, no. And I was ecstatic with the way CSU opened the game, even though they fell behind, because the pace was really good. They were playing really assertively. They knew what they wanted to do offensively. They knew what they wanted to do defensively, and they were really getting after it up and down the floor. And they were showing San Diego State that they were going to be in for a battle over all 94 feet when they came out. And I thought that was important. I thought CSU set the tone in that game, even though San Diego State jumped out to the lead. But I thought the play that really made the game, that brought the crowd to its feet, and I think that launched CSU into kind of the full confidence of, hey, not only can we play, but we can be just as athletic, was the Carey Booth play.
without a doubt.
out of the press.
Well, and what's beauty of it, he's bringing the ball up the floor, and I think he sees no one's going to guard me. I'm going to the rim. This is the thing. I mean, we know we can shoot. But what's made CSU good of late too is we're not afraid, as you say, to impose our will on the inside, to go inside, go to the rack, go to the hole. And this is an example of saying, if you're going to give me free lane to do it, I'm going to freaking do it. Oh, I mean, and the poster shot of this too, just that freeze frame. Here it is. Oh, I'm going to just take it in. If you're going to, I'll split you. And man, if you'd have made that other one in the game too, that would have totally brought the house down. The one he hit off the back of the rim.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it was something. The thing, I watched them work in practice on Monday, or not Monday, on Friday before the game. I watched them work on the press break, and this was part of what they talked about. Carey, I'm glad he hasn't been necessarily the most assertive, most aggressive player, and he's learning. This is just one of those things in terms of a learning experience. And I talked on my show after the UNLV game. UNLV has a player named Tyron Jones, and Tyron Jones is a freshman who goes about $190, 6'9". He's skinny as all get out, but he's the most aggressive. He's fearless, and if Carey learns to play like this and fearless and dunking over people, he set the tone because he was showing San Diego State, the team with the reputation for being the most athletic in the Mountain West. Mm-hmm. Carey was setting the tone that he was the best athlete on the floor. And once he starts believing that every time he steps on the floor, I think the the upside, the potential is absolutely off the charts for him.
Well, I mean, the maturation of what we've seen with Carey Booth, because you always knew that the ability was there. But you've said this very candidly. He needed some love, and he needed some, I say, rehab, in the sense of coaches working with him again to believe in him. Because, we know the story to some degree that, he was somewhat left on the scrap heap at Illinois, or they didn't coach him up or instill in him the confidence. And look, even great athletes sometimes need to have a coach that says, hey, man, attaboy. Hey, it's okay if you make mistakes. Keep going. You've got the ability. Just believe in yourself. I believe in you. Go do your thing. I will have your back. And I think what we're seeing is Coach Farouk Nimesh and the coaching staff are telling Carey, hey, man, we got your back. You go ahead and shoot those threes. We'll believe in you. But, man, if you want to back somebody down, you want to go to the hole, you want to jump out of the gym and block shots, God, a rim protector, nothing gets me more excited. When I see a block shot, I freaking love that. You can tell he's starting to play with confidence and just with character. And I mean, his maturation has just been something else. And what else I like about him too, he's making good decisions with the ball. If he's open, he'll take his shot. He's a good passer. If he doesn't, he'll do it. He works inside. He does the dirty work, trying to get rebounds, tipping the ball out. And I love an aggressive guy on D, man. You'll win me over anytime. A guy like that can sky and block shots. And you could tell there's a couple times San Diego State made some really good shots when he was down there protecting the rim, but they had to really alter what they were doing because he was skying and tipping it and doing things. I mean, yeah, as a fan, I'm excited to see, where Booth goes from here. And then, obviously the bias in me, he's a local kid. And this is another story that I want local athletes. And again, it's hard when these big schools really want you. I mean, that never happened to me. But I always say, man, you can come here, you can get where you want to go, and if you have an aspirations to play in the pro, you can do it, because we've sent guys to the pros for football and for basketball. Come here, work here, be a legend, be that hometown guy. And I think Carey's starting to feel that love. I think he's starting to get that sense, and you can just see it. And I love seeing his eyes. You see his eyes. You said he doesn't smile much. There's a couple times he was smiling on the court, and that's
a great sign, isn't it?
Yes, it is. He was smiling. He had that little smirk on his face, and I'm like, yeah, he's happy. It's great. So yeah, I love it.
That you talked about, it wasn't just the aggressiveness on offense, but his reading of the plays on defense and turning into a a shot blocker. He's got the ability to be a great shot blocker. We saw a game in the streak earlier in the streak against Wyoming where he blocked 6 shots. But the game against San Diego State, he had an early block on Miles Bird in the first half. Miles Bird went to the basket, thought he was going to score easily, and Booth just sent it into about the third row. But he had a really underrated play in the second half where Bird drove again late in the shot clock, and Carey came from the weak side, and he would have blocked it, but Bird saw him and threw it up over him, and it went off the glass and missed the rim. It fell into the hands of a San Diego State player. But
he altered
in
the
a
shot
clock,
totally.
shot clock violation, and that was. He doesn't get credit for the block there. That created the turnover. And those are the plays he's starting to make that excite me as well. He's playing all 94 feet. He's always showed flashes on both ends of the floor. Now we're getting it, and we're seeing it with consistency. Career high out of him, 22 points. I think he had 6 rebounds. Yeah. Blocked out really well, created the space for Jorgensen to get a bunch of rebounds as well, and Mbemba to get rebounds. So just an unbelievable game, and the emergence. I'd love to. We're just hoping for consistency, and fingers crossed we keep it going there. But the other guy we have to talk about is Jace Butler.
Yeah,
he is Jace with a career high 25.
Yep.
Playing. He's also typically guarding, has the toughest guard. He got for San Diego State, he got Reese Dixon Waters, who's their leading scorer. Dixon Waters ended up, I believe, with 18 points, but they were all in garbage time late, all at the free throw line, and then a crazy 3 from about 35 feet when the game was already over. He just came down and threw one up and didn't care, and it happened to go in. But Jace was the one holding him down, and on the other end of the floor, he was the one doing the scoring as well, heading to a career high 35 points. He's become not just a leader in terms of filling the stat sheet with numbers, but he's becoming kind of the center of the team in terms of his play across all 94 feet.
He's finding his comfort level, and something else too, which I value. Dude, put him at the line, hitting key free throws at the end of the game. I say, go foul him. You notice on those inbound plays who they want to get the ball to, get it to Butler, because they're going to foul him and put him at the line. And you need to have that in those situations. You had mentioned earlier in the season too, that Butler coming in, he was one of the guys that was still trying to kind of find his fit and find his way with this team. And there's a part of me that wonders, you never want to have injuries or guys hurt. Has he been benefiting a little bit because of what's happened to Pasquarelli and some other guys, that he's just kind of somewhat been forced into the rotation, but with that, being put in, now he's starting to find his flow and find his comfort level, starting to probably understand the vision that coach and the coaching staff has for him, where he fits in the role. And he's found himself. This is what I love seeing, is the growth and evolution of these guys, these last 6, 7, 8 games.
Yeah. I think sometimes that's a good point about whether the loss of Pasquarelli has put a little more on his shoulders and he's accepted it and he's run with it. But, I think the other thing that sometimes we underestimate is, the only way to get experience is by getting experience, right?
Exactly.
And you want guys to play with like they've played for 3 or 4 years. And in the case of Carey's getting starters minutes, and he's starting to emerge. Butler is a sophomore who's basically playing his freshman year.
Right.
He didn't play much last year for Washington, and especially in the Big Ten, he didn't play very much at all. I don't think he played half their games, and so he's really been in a freshman year. And if you think back, a guy like Kyan Evans struggled through his first 10 or 12 games at CSU in his sophomore year. Jace is in kind of the same place, and I think we're seeing somebody who the experience of playing, I just think he's getting more comfortable. I talked with him a little bit last week about the UNLV game, and I said we laughed. I said, I told Ali the same thing. I said, here we are, we're watching us give up a 15-point lead against UNLV, and I'm throwing things I'm a fan. I'm throwing things at the television set. It's like, come on, you guys. But it was a blessing that they put Jace Butler on the line for 2 critical 1-and-1s.
Yep.
and he made them. And those are the kind of plays that build confidence. And, that's the experience that builds confidence. If he had missed, who knows what would have happened, but he
Right.
didn't. You've got a confident guy at the free throw line, and you saw what happened against San Diego State. He shot 11 for 12, made everything he had to do. He had the ball going to the basket at the end, getting fouled, and it was just I won't say it was a breakout. It was a breakout game from the number of points he scored.
Yeah.
He's been playing very, very well. And it's just a matter of somebody's going to score for this team, and somebody is going to get rebounds, somebody's going to get assists, and you don't know from night to night. And that's kind of the wonder, the joy of this team is the balance. We've talked about them not having a Neat Clifford as a go-to scorer, and we're not going to have that this year. There's no doubt. No one has shown the ability to be the true go-to guy, but the balance can kill as well.
Well, and I think it goes a long way with your teammates, all of them being confident in each other, trusting in each other. And I think what Jace has shown is the guys now, I'm not saying they did before, but have faith in him, saying, get him the ball. We're going to get him the ball. We know he's going to get to the line. They have confidence in him, right? Just like the guys are developing confidence in Booth or the other player. Everybody, you see that confidence, chemistry that we talk so much. Starting to come. It is a really a beauty. You see that sense of flow, or you're watching events, and I love the team, the discipline that helps side by side, calling screens, moving. These guys are communicating. They're all, it's just excellent symmetry that we're really seeing, and it's just getting exciting. And again, to see it culminate with the big win over, again, the program that has been the 800-pound gorilla for decades, San Diego State is a big deal. Now the next step is, getting ready for another big game against an opponent you are better than, but is coming in, really let a game get away from them. They had New Mexico on the ropes, but let that get away from them. But, bringing in a Fresno State saying, no. These are games. These are must wins. These are games we should win. We should win going away. So what's the focus going to be moving forward for tomorrow?
Yeah. So before we leave the game on Saturday, I got a question for Jake. Who should we wear the orange against in the pack next year?
Gonzaga.
Lots of choices. Aaron responded, San Diego State. It's their kryptonite. I would love to see us welcome the Bulldogs of Gonzaga in orange to Moby Arena. I think that would be fun. So I'll leave it at that. Let's move on. You talked about the game against Fresno State. They showed they can be a dangerous team as they went out to a 22-point lead against New Mexico before they gave it up at the end. What's funny is I talked to Ali. I did another show last week where we talked about potential dark horses for the Mountain West Conference tournament.
Did he mention Fresno?
He shocked me when he said Fresno State because they got guys who can get hot shooting the ball. And they lost a player to a leg fracture for the season, last name of Douglas, but they still have guys that can shoot, and they shot lights out against New Mexico for a while. And they can be dangerous. And so one of the reasons we don't have a guest today from the coaching staff is they are deeply involved with preparing for Fresno State for tomorrow night, a short
Made
turnaround.
me happy that they're focused. Yeah. We're too busy to join the pod.
It's that time of year. It is where everybody's digging deep. They know it's crunch time. 4 games left in the regular season leading into the Mountain West tournament. Everybody's either playing for first place or top 4 to get a bye in the first round, or potential seeding opportunities and getting their teams ready. I don't care if they're in first place or 12th place. They're trying to prepare their team for the Mountain West Conference tournament. Let's talk a little bit about the end. I got a comment here, some relativity from this team is only 20 spots off last year's team from this date on Bart Torvik. Feels like they were way behind for a while. I'm going to add one more thing to that. Yes, we're behind. But if you look at, and I looked at the Bart Torvik how we were playing relative to the rest of the Mountain West through the first 3 weeks of February. Last year, our metrics were the fourth best team in the Mountain West in the first 3 weeks of February. We didn't get really, really good until right about now. This year, our metrics are the second best in the Mountain West through the
Really?
first 3 weeks
Wow.
in February. Yeah, only
Wow.
behind Utah State.
Mhm.
And that's kind of remarkable. Now, they're not as good as they were nationally, but they are really, really good within relative to the rest of the Mountain West. We
Well,
know
and
about
look,
Fresno. We know we've got San Jose State on the road, then on to New Mexico, and then finally closing with Boise State. What are you feeling about the final four games, starting with Fresno State, Marty?
well, I mean, I feel good. And you and I talked about this off the pod, but bringing it on, I mean, I said, look, I think these four games are, I'm not saying they're gimmies by any stretch, but they're winnable based on how we're playing. I mean, you quickly chased into me by saying, yeah, New Mexico is going to be a tough out, but there's a part of me saying, we got to get, look, last time we're going to play them. That's when I circle and say, I want these dudes. I want these MFers. I want to beat them one good time before we get out. And then Boise State at home, obviously that's going to probably between what us and them for what that fifth or sixth spot. Am I right?
Probably, yeah. It
So,
could. It's probably going to be six, seven,
okay.
6, 7, 8 will be between UNLV, Boise, and CSU. I don't think they're going to get into the 4, 5 spots with Nevada and Grand Canyon. It could happen, but I don't think so.
So that game right there is I want to call it a tourney game because you're just playing for positioning. Though having said that, Utah State's looked vulnerable of late. They've kind of, I don't want to say come back because they're still very much the lead, but they let a game get away from them recently. So I mean, I like our chances. At the very least, we should split. I think we should be able to get 3 or 4. If we could sweep these last 4, that's some great momentum going into the tournament. And then you're like, well, can we win 4 more? Because we realize for us to have any shot to make the big dance, we're going to have to win the tournament again, more than likely, unless something just really crazy happens. If we get into the title game or something like that, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, but we're just looking like some team that they can't not put in. So,
Yeah, it's the watching things fall into place, and I I did a show last week. We talked about who's lined up well for the Mountain West Conference tournament, and it was with a guy from who covers Grand Canyon, and then my buddy Tom Moser who covers the Mountain West. And CSU was kind of an afterthought, and I woke up on Monday morning or Friday morning and going, I woke up and I something really changed for me in terms of my thought about our team. I saw a tearful Penny Hardaway
mhm.
crying after he was. Penny Hardaway, a very good college coach, had led Memphis to a 5 seed last year, a very good team, and they were coming off a 20-point loss the night before. It was him after the game. They lost by 20 points to South Florida.
Mhm.
And I started thinking about it. Here's Penny Hardaway. This is a good coach. This is, like I said, 5 seed, losing by 20 points to South Florida. And that's the same South Florida team that we beat by 15 on a neutral floor back in November.
Right, right.
And that's the same South Florida team that beat Utah State by 13 in Florida. They had them by 25 before winning by 13. And I'm thinking, here's Utah State at the top of the Mountain West, and I realize it's only one game and one team, but you go, it's like, why not us? Why can't we play
Right,
that way?
right.
And and then we started seeing on Saturday the things starting to fall back into place, and so I'm encouraged by what I saw on Saturday, like really, really encouraged, because even in the beginning of that 5 game streak, there were still some major holes. I thought we were great defensively against San Diego State, but offensively we couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. And then you go into Air Force, and Air Force we were great offensively, but I don't think we were very good defensively. We gave up a lot of points to them. And then Wyoming, the we showed one thing there. toward the end, the last 10 minutes, we came out and we fought. And it was the first game where I felt like we were really ready to fight. And then you go to UNLV, and the offense was fantastic, and the defense was good for a while, and then UNLV got hot, and they can get hot. And you have to accept the fact that UNLV, they've come from behind on a lot of teams.
And that was just that. And I know if you read it, I don't know who wrote the article. Somebody wrote UNLV, a perfect build. Their team, however, was constructed for an NCAA tournament run. And then we beat them that night. I saw that article and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then we beat them about how they're perfect for the Mountain West, how they're constructed and everything else. So, and look, hey, road wins in this conference are tough. They're a premium, man. They're a premium. I don't care who you're beating on the road, whether it's Air Force, San Jose State, does not matter. And we've got one of the best road wins in the conference this year, Grand Canyon. So, I mean, Absolutely. It's not like we can't do this. It's just continuing to do the things that we do best and keeping ourselves in front. Look, I'm biased. Obviously, I'm wearing the
oh, not me. I'm totally neutral.
Yeah. But look, we've said this. No one's going to want to face us in the Mountain West tournament. No one wants to play us because we're getting hot at the right time. And because we always talk about how teams present problems for us. Well, we present a lot of problems for a lot of teams. And so, and what we're showing now is, okay, you're going to pick your poison. We know we can shoot lights out. We haven't of late. What have we done? Played better defense. And now we're starting to impose our will underneath the basket. We're starting to go in and get rewarded for being the aggressor on offense and make those points and get to the line. So we're not one-dimensional anymore. And that's something that's going to pose a huge problem, I think, for anybody that faces us as we get closer to tournament time.
Yeah, I'm looking for one thing in these last 4 games. Obviously, I'd love to see 4 wins. It would be wonderful to get to 12-8. It won't be enough to get into an at-large position. We're still going to have to win the tournament. But I'm looking for that consistency on both ends of the floor. And the San Diego State game is the first game I have seen in Moby this year against a conference team where we had consistency over 40 minutes over all 94 feet, both ends of the floor. Right. And that was the most encouraging thing to me. But can we do it again tomorrow night against Fresno? Can we do it on the road against San Jose State, who torched Nevada last week? Midweek by 16, a good Nevada team. And they gave Boise some problems too for a little bit until they succumbed at the end. They have to play 4 guys 40 minutes, but that's what I'm really really looking forward to. So
me too. Well, playing with poise. I mean, this team's starting to play with poise, not get rattled, not turn the ball over. Things that were driving me nuts, earlier, saying, God, we got to get some hands, guys, and not do that, losing the ball when we're putting it on the floor, trying to go in for a play. Those are things that I've seen marked improvement as well. That really encouraged me. And so San Diego State was a real just nice eye opener for saying, okay, we play this style of basketball. We are going to be okay. We are going to be just fine. So,
and then the other thing we have to look forward to is we will have the return of Josh Pasquarelli at some point. I don't know if it'll come midweek or by the end of the week, but I think he'll be back at some point this week. He was dressed for practice last week and wasn't necessarily taking part in team drills, but was shooting and participating in some other things as well. So good. I hopefully will get him back and we can get nothing but better. I did want to tell you something. That you talked about the game in New Mexico, and how it'd be wonderful to get one last win down.
Yeah, one last shot.
I have a couple of really good shows scheduled for the next couple of weeks. I've decided to go Mountain West nostalgia because I started thinking this through, Marty, and there's this whole thing about embracing change, and you as well as I do. We've gone through many changes in our lives. And
I'm in a transition period myself.
Where we embrace change, but you don't really understand the future and the change without kind of recognizing where you've come from in the past. And there's
Yeah.
important parts of you that you want to make sure you maintain, and as you grow and develop and look forward to the future. And one of the joys, this Mountain West Conference, the last 25 years or whatever, the basketball has been so much fun. And so I'm doing some nostalgia shows. I have on Thursday, I'll be doing a show, my regular Thursday night show. I'll be bringing Tim Miles on.
Oh,
And
nice.
and
Love
we'll
that.
do a little bit of a preview, talk about his team now. And, we've CSU goes to San Jose for a game on Saturday, but
Right.
most of the time will be spent talking about his years at CSU and the Mountain West Conference in those 5 years that he was here from 2007 to 2012. And those were some of the glory years with the emergence of, you had BYU and Utah, and San Diego State started to emerge. You had New Mexico with Alford getting good. Boise State joined the conference in that time frame as well. And in 2012, I think it was, yeah, 2000, no, maybe 2013 for Boise. But anyway, it'll be fun talking with him. And then next week, I have a show planned with the guys. We'll do a preview show for the New Mexico game. I've gotten to know guys down in Albuquerque who run a site down there called the Pit Press. And we will do a show doing a preview of the game, but also to do some nostalgia, talking about some of the great CSU New Mexico games of the past. I have two of the greatest Mountain West players to ever play coming on to join us. I have Dorian Green from CSU,
Nice.
and I have Kendall Williams from New Mexico. And Kendall Williams is, of course, the guy who had 46 points in the game in 2013 in Moby Arena that won New Mexico the title. And Dorian played that game, and we'll talk about that game. We'll talk about the 2013 game, and we'll talk about their perspective of their time in the Mountain West Conference. And I am looking so forward to that. And then I'm trying to put together a show with Tim Shelton, who is, of course, from CSU, assistant coach now, but played at San Diego State.
Yep.
And coached at Fresno State. So he's got ties. And I reached out to see if he knows anybody he can bring on from his days at San Diego State. I doubt if we can get Kawhi Leonard, but
I was going to say,
maybe
how about
somebody
Michael
else that he's
Cage?
friends with. And,
Michael Cage.
but nostalgia with that too. And it's just, to me, this is just going to be a fun 2 weeks, not just talking about the Rams and the rise and the climb they're making through the standings and preparing for the Mountain West tournament, but revisiting some of the great times in the Mountain West.
Well, I was well in the Mountain West and even the WAC. I was bragging to one of my daughter's friends. She's a Chicago kid, and I said, on this floor, I got to see the Big Red play for New Mexico, Luke Longley. I said, you may remember him from the Chicago Bulls. Well, I know my parents do. And I said, yeah, won world titles with Michael Jordan. We were talking about Tim Hardaway Jr. I said, funny, I saw his dad play at Moby with those great UTEP teams that, that came in with the Bear, Coach Haskins and teams like that. I mean, you've forgotten more basketball than a lot of people know, but the WAC, the Mountain West, some of the players and teams that have come through there are unbelievable. I have to sometimes sit there and pinch myself saying, I saw that dude in college. I saw this team. I saw these guys, and some of my own guys, hey, these are my guys that were great players on these teams in this great conference. So that's why, wrapping up the football season, you say basketball, there's a part of you, look, we change, we transform, we elevate. And I love everything that the university is doing. But I do get a little sad, a little melancholy and nostalgia to think, we're not going to be playing New Mexico anymore. We're not going to maybe play Wyoming necessarily anymore basketball. Who knows? There's a part of me, I value those, if you want to say rivalries, relationships. And so I get a little nostalgic thinking, man, because you love them so much you hate them, or vice versa, that you want to play, you want to compete against them. And so I get a little sad thinking about that too. That's, some of the people we're walking away from.
Yeah. And that's why, you talk about the relationships. I've gotten to know people from other cities that do the same thing that we're doing here. And I respect everything they do. I love the content they do. And And it's going to be different because we won't be getting together as regularly and talking together, talking as much as we have, because they're going to be moving in a different direction, and it's hard to say goodbye. So I want to make sure I give it the proper the proper touch, the proper attention, because it has been a wild ride and a fun ride in the Mountain West with a lot of these teams. So I'm so excited what's coming over the next 2 weeks. Anything more you want to add before we call it a day?
No, but as we say, the biggest game of the season for the Rams is tomorrow. I mean, that is all these next games are all going to be the biggest games of the season. The old cliche, one game at a time. So the building blocks are there. Let's continue to build that up, and man, let's just smother Fresno State. I hope we just jump on them early and get them down and just run away with it and not even give them a chance. I'd like to see our guys come out and just play that high-end quality basketball that they've put on the floor the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping we come out with that same level of focus, the same level of motivation, the same level of fight, recognizing that there isn't any team that can't beat them.
Right,
that they
exactly.
need to elevate their game. And I'm looking for even more out of this game than we saw against San Diego State, looking to see this continued climb. So anyway, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. This has been fun. I always have fun when I do a show with just Marty. We like doing our interviews, but Marty is such a good.
Love the sound of my own voice.
Good. Here we go. One more comment before we go from Nick Grease. Let's go Ram. I'm hoping the students stay engaged, show up for senior night, send them to the tournament. We only have one senior to say goodbye to. You never know. You could be seeing other players' last games in Moby. Just be the way the portal works. But we'll be saying goodbye to Jeff Muniz, who has been a great addition, a joy. His parents will be there. I've gotten to know Chris and Adrian a little bit. They are great. It's a great family. It's been wonderful having him. So anyway, here's a comment. Cheer loud, Steve. There's some humor in that. I had somebody in my section who sits a few rows in front of me on Saturday, Marty, come up to me after the game and tell me I'm too loud and wants me to be quieter during games.
Oh my God. Jeez.
So it's okay. I looked at her and said, you know what? You're right. I am loud.
Yeah. Oh God.
Anyway.
It's too noisy. Okay.
Anyway, let's call it a day, young man. Right. It's been a pleasure, and we'll do it again next Monday. See who we can have as a guest. Maybe we'll bring somebody on. We'll do some Mountain West nostalgia as well. But have a great week, Marty. We'll see you.
You too. Take care. Go Rams.